Hi again folks, how's all doing? Here we have a Heljan Class 17 that was sent to me by Martin. He said that this stopped running one day in a puff of smoke. Hellion and puff of smoke are words you really don't want to hear too close together, but let's see what happens under power. Not a sausage. No, absolutely nothing. It's maxing out the ammeter though. Let's shove it into the shed and we'll see if we can see what's up. Righto, a Heljan Class 17. I've got one of these. Nice models, Hellions. They run really nicely, but they are, generally speaking, an absolute nightmare to work on. If I remember rightly, these are quite tricky to take apart. You've got to take this cab off. Come on, here you come. One of the pieces of window glass has just popped out. We can sort that. And then buffers at this end, there's two tiny little keepers. Get the endoscope in. You can just see there's a little plastic keeper on the end of the inside of the buffer to keep it in place. And there's one on the other side as well. Got to remove those to allow the chassis to come away from the body. Not a very good design. So just gently prise them off and try not to lose them. That's one off. You can see the buffer comes out. Get a little plastic keeper there. Same for this one. Come on, out you come. There we go. Now, what we'll do is keep these little keepers and their buffers all together, because if you drop one of these little keepers, you'll never see it again. I use these plastic trays to keep bits and pieces in when I dismantle a locomotive, because sometimes a locomotive can be in bits for days at a time. So keep all the bits and pieces safe. Right, we'll get the cocktail sticks out. So, stick one in there, one in there, one in there. Is that thing going to come out? And here we go. Right. I was kind of expecting to see a smaller PCB with the wires all plugged in, but no. I'm not seeing anything obviously blown. Let's just remove this blanking plate, 8-pin one. So the motor is wired to the PCB there and there. We've got wires from the pickups to the PCB, and we've got wires for the lighting. Right, I wonder if we've got a burnt out motor. Let's give it a wee test. Because this isn't DCC, it's okay to apply power to the motor. With a DCC fitted model, you don't really want to apply power direct to the motor. But I've removed the blanking plate anyway. So turn on the power. It helps if you switch on the controller. And let's see if we've got anything on this motor. Nope, doesn't look like it. What will we do? we desolder it there. We're going to have to get the motor out of here. Clamp to do that. 4 screws. But I think we're looking at getting a replacement motor and having the fun and games with the flywheels. Right, out you come. It's reasonably easy to access. That off there. Big rubber shim. There we go. We'll pop this blanking plate back in just now. Get this on the test track. And the motor's now spinning. You have to give it a... Oh, that doesn't sound good. The lighting's working though. So I think, yeah, the directional lighting's working. It's just the motor. Just the usual Heljan motor blowout. There's quite a smell of burning coming off it. Desolder that. Desolder that. So I'm going to go online, see if I can find one of these, see how much it is, tell Martin what the damage is, and we shall come back to this. It's nearly beer o'clock. So a few days later, I've got a replacement motor from Peter's Spares. So I now have to pull the flywheels off this and then get them onto the new motor, which is always fun. It looks like these flywheels are on pretty close. If I pull that way, there's about a millimetre. There's no way I'm going to get a puller behind these. Well, that kind of fits in there though. That's good. So that fits behind the flywheel there. That'll be good for getting them back on. So to get them off, I'll do what I've done before and just lever them off with a couple of screwdrivers. The motor's dud anyway, so not worried about damaging the motor. That's in there. That's in there. And just lever it off. A lot of people suggest heating these up to make this easier. I think to heat these up enough, to expand them enough to make it easier, you'd be at risk of melting the plastic socket in there for the drive shaft, so I don't like to heat them up. If there was no plastic socket in there, then yeah, heating them up would be an idea. Right, it's coming off. I'm going to put this in there and then pop that in the vise. And I've got one of these little, can't remember what you call these, a needle punch or something. That'll go down in there. And I should be able to tap that out and release that flywheel. There we go. Now we need to get this one off. Same thing again, get the screwdrivers in. And lever it off so far. Like that, and we'll tap it out. So there's my flywheels. It's very difficult getting them off because you know, you've got these plastic sockets for the drive shaft, so you don't want to damage those. You've got a very small hole to put any kind of tool down to punch them out. I used a couple of things, a little screwdriver and some of those little needle punch things, but they're not very strong, you know, they bend very easily. However, they're off, and now we've got to get them on. So that's the one that goes on that end. and that's the one that goes on that end. So they'll only push on so far like that. Now the only way I can think to push these on in some kind of clamp without damaging the sockets is to use a couple of nuts. We'll stick them on with a bit of black tack, so that's going to protect the socket. This could come in handy just to act as a kind of stop. So I'll get my trusty old mitre clamp. Is this going to open wide enough? Not quite. Oh dear. This is a problem I'm going to have to find a solution to, is getting some kind of vise or clamp that opens wide enough to take these flywheels. That's just not happening. So I've got various clamps that might do the job, but let's just see how we get on with this, just to get it started. Okay. There we go, that's what we want. We can get that in there, so that's not going to come any further, but this one will squeeze on. Something we want to do is bend these terminals out the road. That's it there. And now squeeze this other flywheel on. Like so. Right, okay, flywheel's on. Now I know the motor fits in that way, so I'll need to temporarily just place the motor in and connect it up and test the polarity just to make sure we've got it the right way around. So that goes around like that. That one engaged. That one engaged. Doesn't have to be seated properly at the moment, I just want to test the polarity. So that's the motor temporarily in place, it's engaged with the drive shafts. I'm just going to stick this on the test track and apply power, and then touch these wires onto the motor terminals there, and that'll tell me what the polarity is. So pop this onto the test track, apply some power, and which way do these wires go? I think ideally I want the black wire on this side and the red wire on this side. Don't want to cross them over, so it might be a case of turning the motor around. Fingers crossed I've got this right though, but I'll bet I haven't. Oh, I have. That's a stroke of luck. So I've got it right. So the motor's the right way around. So the black wire on. And the red wire. Put these wires either side of that socket. Slide it in like that. There we go. Put that back on. Pop the window back in. And then we refit these buffers. This has to be one of the stupidest things ever done on a model locomotive. They've got a flat side that has to go upwards against the chassis. But even then, it's a really, really awkward fit. I'll bet you plenty of people who've done this have just got to stuff it and glued the buffers in. Yeah, that's that one on. Now we have to do the other one. That one went on quite easy. That has to be one of the fiddliest things ever. But there we go. That's this Heljan Class 17 fitted with a new motor. Let's go and put it out the shed. Okay then, let's bring it out. So that's Martin's Class 17 sorted out with a new motor. Always a fiddle replacing a motor in any model with flywheels, and although Hellions tend to be quite tricky to work on, they aren't really any worse than any other modern diesel model from Hornby, Bachmann, Scale, etc. Any model with a centrally mounted motor, 2 drive shafts and flywheels is going to be a fiddle, but actually this Class 17 is one of the easier Hellion models to work on, apart from the buffer nonsense. But there we go, another one sorted. I shall get this packed up and sent back to Martin. Catch you later, folks.